Good morning and welcome to the 25th annual exhibit of Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technologies. We are a booming branch, but still we're just a small fraction of the industrial competence of Germany itself. Have you ever wondered how necessary it is to keep track of what is happening in Germany, who's building what, where the hidden skills are? Well, we have an organization that we're going to be discussing fuel cells with, and this is ich muss es auf Deutsch sagen, VDMA, VDMA, which is the German Abkürzung for Verband Deutscher Maschinen- und Anlagenbau. Really difficult to translate because in the website they use the English, the Mechanical Engineering Industry Association. I'll be discussing with Dr. Manfred Stefener to my left, who is chairman, and Gerd Krieger, who is managing director of VDMA Working Group Fuel Cells, how things are progressing and how your fuel cell report has been reporting on these developments. Please welcome with me my two guests. Manfred, let's start with you. VDMA, it is a large organization. Perhaps we should start with the large picture. What do you do? When were you founded? And what are your activities like?
So like the VDMA, or like the German Machinery and Plant Building Association, is one of the biggest industry groups or associations in Germany, with over 3,000 members in all segments. And as you know, so like the machine building is one of the strongest industry sectors in Germany. So therefore, VDMA has like a big role, and since like about 15 years, it's also focusing on like the fuel cell segment. So the fuel cell group has like about 60 members. Yeah. So over the total supply chain, focusing on stationary systems, heavy duty systems. In the meanwhile, also electrolysis. So that's what we want to talk about today, and it has like very important tasks to bring industry together, set standards, talk about legislation to help new technologies come forward, and setting the scene basically for like production and industrialization in Germany and Europe.
Gerd, at what point and why did the Verband decide that the fuel cell community and the hydrogen producers were interesting enough to catch your attention? When did that start?
We started already in 2003. That was early, and so we have seen all the changes in industry, but we are still believing in the future of fuel cells. There was many changes in industry 3, 4, 5 years ago. Stationary applications, combined heat and power plants plays a major role here within the exhibition. Nowadays this changed, but all shows us that it's important. As Manfred said, we are the industrial heart in Germany. It's Maschinenbau, it's the mechanical engineering industry, and we believe that a fuel cell could be a part of the story in future.
Now, whenever I'm a Canadian myself, we look to Germany as, well, let's face it, the #1 per capita exporting nation in the world. It's a success story. The success story, when you look at it from outside the country, we all think of the large, automobile producers. But in fact, what Germans refer to as Maschinenbau, like constructing machines, there's all sorts of smaller and middle-sized organizations with this massive competence in material sciences, manufacturing processes, and so on. Is part of your role to try and integrate these skills? Let's face it, if you have a material scientist that is hidden in one company whose expertise could profit an entire industry, really what you want to do is make sure people know, oh, he's the go-to guy for ceramics, this guy does plastic coatings, he's a wonderful person to talk to. There needs to be an umbrella organization. Is this part of what you do?
Yes, exactly. So, and then that is certainly one of the most important task over the many years. So there, so VDMA has like certainly created like a big network into the industry. So so knowing information, knowing like the so legislation, but also bringing people together to talk about supply chain. So this is like important for a fuel cell that has many different and complex components. We see that like in the German industry, so many companies have invested in the fuel cell industry because they have like existing manufacturing expertise in certain components. For example, yeah, like a manufacturer of motorhead gaskets, yeah, so metallic part, so is now like are now active in metallic bipolar plates, yeah. So companies like Freudenberg, where I'm working for, yeah, so they have like big expertise in materials for seals. So have like invested since like 20 years now and commercialized like fuel cell seals with very specific material know-how. So these are the examples, so that you have, and where like the network brings a lot of benefit to everybody to be connected in the industry and have the chance to know about like the developments and specifically develop like parts for specific applications in stationary, in mobile, in in portable applications. So that's so the core what the VDMA does.
So the integration of skills, I think people get that. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. If there's someone who's already made the discovery, let's spread the word among the industry. The other thing that interests me is the potential for proactive activities. Someone has to be looking at the winds of change and seeing how political policy, environmental policy, standard setting could all of a sudden create a shift within the manufacturing community, at least a need for a shift in the manufacturing community. Do you also operate proactively, jump out to the industry and say, hey guys, this is what's coming?
Yeah, in the end, it was proactive to deal with fuel cells in 2003, and we have created in VDMA a new branch which is called Future Business, and we make a lot of analysis looking to the future because we are successful, and Manfred, don't mention that our history is 126 years now, and we managed to have many change from steam machinery and I think in the future to fuel cells.
So in the operative day-to-day business, so it's not so daily meetings, yeah, but so like the members of the fuel cell group, so they often so sit together and define basically like in many ways proactively, so like the next work task that they want to focus on and talk about, yeah. So for example, certain standards or quality measurements in production for a fuel cell stack. So very important tasks that are necessary, yeah, and for industrializing fuel cell components, bringing them into volume, bringing costs down. So all of that, very important aspects of commercializing. So like the technology. So the members define that, and then so over like a certain period, that can be years, but also sometimes shorter. So the group is working on that topic and bringing information together and potentially having the result that a certain standard is coming out of that methodology. Yeah.
Now, of course, the reason for us discussing this this year, we did this last year as well. There was a VDMA Fuel Cell Survey 2018. Now we have the VDMA Fuel Cell Survey 2019. What has changed in the last year? What expected and unexpected results did you discover with your survey? And perhaps describe the survey. By the way, photos from the survey are being played on the screen here, and there are copies, I believe, distributed on the tables. But describe what has changed and where the survey shows things are going.
Thanks, and also the presentation and the results will be in the internet end of the day. First of all, I would like E4 Tech, Franz Lehnert's here in the audience, because we did align the product categories from our survey with the categories from E4Tech to be able to compare the situation in Germany with the situation globally. If you look to the figures, they are a bit surprising. We made this survey since 2009, every 2 years, and perhaps a few people are here who saw the survey in 2017, and the figures was higher. The figures was better, let's say, from a perspective of turnaround. But in the end, we have to see that there was a setback in 2017 and a bit in 2018, but we are now back on track. That means we have had a turnover of 60 million in 2018, and the companies expect a doubling in this year. Still, as it was in the last surveys, the stronghold of Germany in this part are stationary applications. We have a very successful program for heating systems in the houses, which is very successful. And on the other hand, there are big German companies which are strong in early markets and work on this track further on. So this is the positive sector, which is still not really reflected in our survey now, is the coming markets. And the coming markets, and Manfred said it before, it's all what's happening in mobility. This is strongly driven by regulations. And there are many exhibitors around here, and that is a change, I think, also from the exhibition compared to earlier years. Their electrolyzers play a major role. There are really big projects in Germany in the moment which are discussed, a few projects with 100 megawatt and above, but sorrily they are not in the turnover in the moment, and that's a big question, and the $1,000 question, when this projects really materialize. They will come. It's a question when, and therefore we titled our report, we are a branch in transition. We are coming strongly from stationary and early market business, and we are quite sure that these other sectors will participate, and the 2021 survey will get another picture, and a quite better picture than we have now.
And the success story then is the stationary applications. When we say stationary applications, how we say, let's describe what they are for the normal user. What stationary apps are successful right now?
Yes, when we are talking about stationary applications here, yeah, so then so we mean like combined heat and power systems, yeah, Kraft-Wärme-Kopplungssysteme for smaller applications, single-family homes, small businesses. So in the power range between like a few hundred watt and so up to 5 kilowatt. So that's the range of CHP systems. So and this is also covered by like a subsidy program. So the KfW 433, so which is so like an important program which drives like the growth also in that segment, and so the volume, so our sales volume in that segment is like according to the plan, and also like the program has been prolonged, yeah, and it's certainly it's a successful program with the expectation that in this market segment, so that we will see like a significant growth in Germany, so in the segment of decentralized energy conversion with such CHP systems.
So we're really talking about a natural gas-driven heating unit. Rather than having a flame burning, you convert the natural gas with the reformer to hydrogen. You got a PEM cell in there. You have both heat and electricity, and you have an option for a decentralized grid for electricity.
Exactly, and so just the use of such a system, so like a natural gas-driven system, also like producing your own electricity plus more efficiently producing the heat, is something that easily saves like 30%. Some studies say even more, to up to 50% CO2. So for the use in households, households are a big CO2 emitter, 40% in the in Germany. So every saving has like a big impact on CO2 goals that we have in Germany.
This is why these studies are so important, why we're so grateful for them. The optics are misleading. If I go back 10 years, of course, there would be up to a dozen representatives of gas companies even, or producers of PEM cells, where they were offering a unit that replaces your conventional gas heater with a PEM cell and a reformer. There are none this year. So the optics at the fair are, oh, this must be outmoded. And then all of a sudden, look, 1/3, this is the future market we're talking about, 1/3 of the space here is occupied by electrolysis and electrolyzers, and we haven't even mentioned them yet. So are the optics off? Am I mistaken by going from what I see here?
I think perhaps there are also other trade shows, and there was one 2 weeks ago dealing with heating systems and fuel cells playing a role there. I think heating systems are on track, and there was another show I visited 2 months ago, and that was a show where the question was how we come to deep decarbonization. And there the gas companies was there. And if I'm looking to the political discussion in Germany in the moment, hydrogen plays a major role there. And but it's in another context. It's in an energy related context, and it's in the context of deep decarbonization of industry sectors like steel. We have had just a discussion on another place here on the fairground on Power to X and what have to be done that this gets reality. And there was a big long-term transmission operator who are involved, because in Germany, for such people who are not so informed, we have a big major problem to transport electricity from the north to the south. We have a delay in building the power lines to do so, and therefore even the operators of the power lines said, now let us use the gas grid to transport all this electricity, all this energy to the south, and therefore there are new opportunities. I'm quite sure that in 1-2 years we will see a lot of gas companies here again, because they see hydrogen more as a part of a solution, and also they need a story for their gas installations for 2030 and above. And hydrogen is playing a major role, and hydrogen means fuel cell.
Another thing that is of interest is there's always this big focus on automobiles, because everyone's discussing, you have the Feinstaubalarm, all the cities with all of the small particle contamination. It's a big public discussion. So obviously there's a large focus on consumer mobile apps. We're talking about a car, fuel cell car. Your approach to this is say, let's talk about mobile applications, but let's not start with the car necessarily. Where are we with mobile applications for hydrogen and fuel cells?
So I think, so like the passenger car segment is certainly like a very important one. So Germany, so I would say 20 years ago, led the scene. So that's today maybe not anymore the case. So it's more like the Asian companies. But with all this passenger car mobility, I think, so we should not forget like the heavy duty mobility, so buses, trucks, trains, ships. So, and we hear every day in the news also like the emission topics in this segment, and it is like kind of equally important to solve these problems. And we see certainly like a strong demand, so in Europe, in Germany, from communities to purchase like such vehicles, and I think and that's a chance for everybody, like also for the German, for the European, for the worldwide industry, to cover that demand, because so there's at the moment What is clearly the case is that supply in that segment is missing. Yeah. So and this is why, for example, so the company Freudenberg, so where I'm leading like the fuel cell system activity, so is clearly focusing on that segment. Yeah. So focusing on fuel cells and batteries, and like in that combination, because we believe that this is a strong advantage in this kind of heavy duty mobility. It's a strong and important segment, and we see like a strong demand coming up.
We're really out of time here, but I can't resist one final question. Namely, the vision of the hydrogen fuel cell economy has always been to have a completely decarbonized energy system. There are skeptics, but the idea is you produce all energy through renewable resources, you convert it to hydrogen because it makes it storable, and then you use fuel cells to convert it back if you need electrical energy. Please for a short answer, do you still believe in this utopian concept? 50 years down the road, 100 years down the road, is it going to work?
As Germany, we work on this perspective, and I believe in the mankind, and if we want to live on this earth any longer, I think we must change, and this is a part of the story, and I think it's possible, and all studies show it's possible.
Yeah, I think so. There's a clear plan in Germany, so in many regions of the world. I think it's not utopia anymore. I think so. It's kind of proven that this is possible, certainly for Germany. So and I personally, so I'm believing that. So and that's one of the reasons why I'm since 26 years in the fuel cell sector, because I'm believing exactly that this is possible. And now I think we are pretty close that it becomes reality.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, because we do need more than simply strong visions. We need people who understand the expertise of the existing manufacturing base in Germany, and that's why VDMA plays such a large role. I've been talking to Dr. Manfred Stefener, chairman of VDMA, and Gerd Krieger, who's managing director of VDMA Working Group Fuel Cells. It's a pleasure to see you this year. I hope you're back next year with another report on the fuel cell industry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.